Hey, good morning, everybody. I hope you didn't expect me to miss this. Apparently, Justin Trudeau will be stepping down as leader of the Liberal Party of Canada and, of course, the Prime Minister. Here's the scene from Ottawa right now where all of the left-wing corporate media reporters are gathered. I haven't got myself a coffee yet, so I'm going to leave this up on the screen for you. Go get a coffee, come back, have a conversation. If you want to leave comments and questions, feel free to go ahead. We're doing this on all of the usual. Oh, look at that. The paper just fell right off the podium. Oh, my God. If you have any questions or comments, and here he is. Good timing. All right. Here is a fearless leader himself.
So I thought it might be fun for us to do this again. Bon matin. Every morning I've woken up as Prime Minister. I've been inspired by the resilience, the generosity, and the determination of Canadians. It is the driving force of every single day I have the privilege of serving in this office. That is why, since 2015, I've fought for this country, for you, to strengthen and grow the middle class. Why we rallied to support each other through the pandemic, to advance reconciliation, to defend free trade on this continent, to stand strong with Ukraine and our democracy, and to fight climate change and get our economy ready for the future. We are at a critical moment in the world. Mes chers Canadiens, à chaque matin, je me suis réveillé en tant que Premier ministre, inspiré par la résilience, la générosité et la détermination qui nous caractérisent si bien en tant que Canadiens. C'est ce qui me motive à chaque jour où j'ai le privilège de servir dans ce poste. C'est pourquoi, depuis 2015, je me suis battu pour ce pays, pour vous, pour renforcer la classe moyenne. Pourquoi nous nous sommes mobilisés en tant que Canadiens pour se soutenir les uns les autres pendant la pandémie.
The drama teacher comes right out.
Progresser la réconciliation, pour
Every morning,
défendre
I
le
wake up as
libre-échange
Prime
sur
Minister.
notre continent, pour notre soutien inébranlable de l'Ukraine et de la démocratie, et pour lutter contre les changements climatiques et préparer l'économie de l'avenir. Nous traversons vraiment un moment critique dans le monde.
Is he crying?
My friends, as you all know, I'm a fighter. Every bone in my body has always told me to fight because I care deeply about Canadians. I care deeply about this country, and I will always be motivated by what is in the best interest of Canadians. And the fact is, despite best efforts to work through it, Parliament has been paralyzed for months after what has been the longest session of a minority parliament in Canadian history. That's why this morning I advised the Governor General that we need a new session of Parliament. She has granted this request, and the House will now be prorogued until March 24th. Over the holidays, I've also had a chance to reflect and have had long talks with my family about our future.
Oh, man.
Throughout the course of my career, any success I have personally achieved has been because of their support and with their encouragement. So last night over dinner, I told my kids about the decision that I'm sharing with you today. I intend to resign as party leader, as Prime Minister, after the party selects its next leader through a robust, nationwide, competitive process. Last night, I asked the President of the Liberal Party to begin that process. This country deserves a real choice in the next election, and it has become clear to me that if I'm having to fight internal battles, I cannot be the best option in that election. Mes chers amis, comme vous savez, je suis un fighter. Dans mon fort intérieur, je me suis toujours battu parce que je me soucie profondément des Canadiens. Et je serai toujours motivé parce qu'il est dans le meilleur intérêt
All
des
right.
Canadiens.
All right.
Et le fait est que malgré tous les efforts déployés,
So this means that the House will not be returning on January 27th, obviously. All committees, because of prorogement or prorogation, all committees will be shut down. So the January 7th committee will not be able to meet and discuss the vote of non-confidence. This also means the Liberal Party is going to be holding I guess, an abbreviated leadership, and we don't know who the front runners are yet, but we can imagine it's Mark Carney, Chrystia Freeland, maybe Melanie Joly, Francois Philippe Champagne. Those are the only four I can think of right now. And then they come back on March 24th. They're going to have to do a speech from the throne where they will be defeated by a vote of confidence. So expect an election sometime at the end of April. That's what I say right now, although I'm maybe talking out of my ass because I haven't got all the details. But he's still speaking French. So let's get back here.
une fois que le parti aura choisi son prochain chef à l'issue d'un processus national, rigoureux et compétitif. Hier soir, j'ai demandé au président du parti de commencer les étapes nécessaires. Le pays mérite un choix clair et réel lors des prochaines élections. Il est devenu évident pour moi que si je dois me concentrer sur des batailles internes, je ne peux pas être la meilleure option lors de ces élections. Le Parti libéral du Canada est une institution importante dans l'histoire de notre grand pays et de notre démocratie. Un nouveau premier ministre et chef du parti portera les valeurs et les idées du Parti libéral dans la prochaine élection. J'ai hâte d'observer le déroulement de ce processus dans les mois à venir. Nous avons été élus pour la troisième fois en 2021 pour renforcer l'économie après la pandémie et faire progresser.
So this is what Mulrooney did when he stepped down in 93. You stay on, generally speaking, until they elect a new leader. Your party elects a new leader. That's nothing new.
À faire pour les Canadiens. The Liberal Party of Canada is an important institution in the history of our great country and democracy. A new Prime Minister and leader of the Liberal Party will carry its values and ideals into that next election. I'm excited to see the process unfold in the months ahead. We were elected for the third time in 2021 to strengthen the economy post-pandemic and advanced Canada's interests in a complicated world. And that is exactly the job that I and we will continue to do for Canadians. Merci beaucoup, mes amis.
Thank you, Prime Minister. We'll now go to questions, starting with Laurence Martin, Radio-Canada.
Bonjour, Monsieur Trudeau. Vous vouliez le faire, ce combat contre Pierre Poilievre. Des batailles internes, il y en a dans votre parti depuis plusieurs mois déjà. Pourquoi est-ce que vous décidez d'abdiquer maintenant? Qu'est-ce qui vous a fait changer d'avis?
Comme vous savez, je suis...
Okay, so while they speak French here, let me just clarify and try and answer some of the questions here. First of all, people are complaining about the Governor General. Generally speaking, the Governor General will act on the advice of the Prime Minister. There has been one very rare instance going back to 1927 where the Governor General does not act on the advice of the Prime Minister. That was called the King Byng Affair. You can look it up in history books, but usually speaking, they will go ahead and do what the Prime Minister asks. And you know what? I mean, a lot of people were expecting a longer prorogation than March 24th. So that's not terrible. I'm not going to say it's great, but it's not terrible because it's bad because of Trump's tariffs, obviously. I mean, he's going to impose 25% tariffs on us. But
and Canadians deserve a real choice in the next election. And it has become obvious to me with the internal battles that I cannot be the one to carry the Liberal standard into the next election.
Vous êtes au pouvoir depuis près de 10 ans. Le Canada a changé avec votre gouvernement. S'il y a une réalisation que vous pourriez nommer dont vous êtes le plus fier? Je sais qu'il y en a plusieurs, mais s'il y en a une.
This is going to be a kiss-ass session with the media. And we'll hear it. We'll listen to it all. But anyway, getting back to what I was saying is the GG usually acts on the advice of the Prime Minister. The March 24th date's not bad. Like I said, this new Liberal leader / Prime Minister, and that's who this person will be. They will be appointed the new Prime Minister. They will have to come back to Parliament on March 24th with a speech from the throne, which is an automatic confidence vote. And so all we can hope for is Jagmeet Singh to keep his word. And if that is the case and all the opposition parties vote against, and they know it's going to happen, the Liberals obviously know it's going to happen, then we will have an election sometime in April.
Je continue à penser que si notre système électoral aurait été changé pour
Video courtesy of
pour que les
CPAC, by
gens
the way.
puissent mettre un premier, un deuxième, un troisième choix sur le bulletin, les partis auraient passé plus de temps à regarder les points qu'ils avaient en commun pour être les deuxième ou troisième choix des voteurs plutôt que de voir la polarisation que nous avions. Mais je ne pouvais pas de façon unilatérale changer notre mode de scrutin dans ce pays.
Next question.
We got elected in 2015 to fight for the middle class.
No, you
And
didn't.
that's exactly what we've done over the past
No, it
years.
isn't.
We reduced their taxes. We increased
No,
the
you didn't.
benefits to families. We made sure the economy was focused on working for everyone and not just a few. And that has changed. That has dropped poverty rates in Canada. That has brought more people into the workforce. That has moved us forward on reconciliation in a way that has deeply improved the opportunities and success of Canadians, despite the incredibly difficult times the world is going through right now. There's lots more work to be done, and I know that this party and this country and Canadians will keep doing it.
He's going to cry.
If I have one regret, particularly as we approach this election, well, there are probably many regrets that I will think of, but I do wish that we'd been able to change the way we elect our governments in this country so that people could simply choose a second choice or a third choice on the
Dude,
same
you had
ballot.
your chance to do that
So the
years
parties
ago,
would
and you
spend more time
reneged
trying to
on
be
your
people's
promise.
second or third choices, and people would have been looking for things they have in common instead of trying to polarize and divide Canadians against each other.
You're going to
I
get
think in
wiped
this
out.
time figuring out how to pull together and find common ground remains something that is really important for democracies. But I could not change unilaterally without support of other parties our electoral system. That wouldn't have been responsible.
Prochaine question.
Tonda McCharles, Toronto Star. Prime Minister, up until 3 weeks ago, you were intending to stay, and it seems that the event 3 weeks ago of Ms. Freeland coming out and saying you were firing her as your finance minister was the catalyst that brought us here today. So can you explain your side of what happened there?
Chrystia has been by my side for close to 10 years now. She has been an incredible political partner through just about everything we have done as a government and as a party over the past decade. I had really hoped that she would agree to continue as my deputy prime minister and take on one of the most important files that not just this government, but this country is facing. But she chose otherwise.
Finance is the most important
In
file, you
regards
jackhole.
to,
Oh, this guy.
What actually happened, I am not someone who's in the habit of sharing private conversations.
Yes, you are. But it's to your advantage. You do.
Chrystia a été depuis presque
All right.
10 ans
French again.
maintenant à mes côtés.
Man, there is a lot of horrendous language and hate in the comments. And I don't blame you. I don't blame you after everything that this jackass has done to us over the past 10 years. We'll do a summary after it's over here.
auxquelles les Canadiens et notre gouvernement va faire face dans les mois à venir, d'ici les prochaines élections. Mais elle n'a pas voulu. Mais par rapport aux détails, je ne suis pas quelqu'un qui partage les détails de conversations privées.
You spoke about the Liberal Party as an institution and the internal battles right now, but I'm wondering if you feel that another leader will have more success than you will at beating Pierre Poilievre in the next campaign.
Pierre Poilievre's vision for this country is not the right one for Canadians. Stopping the fight against climate change doesn't make sense.
There is no.
Backing off on the values and strength and diversity that Canada has always worked to pull itself together on
No,
is
it's
not the
not
right
true.
path for the country.
It's not true.
Attacking journalists, the CBC institutions, that's not what Canadians need in this moment.
It is.
We need an ambitious, optimistic view of the future, and Pierre Poilievre is not offering that.
I cannot believe
And I
how
look forward to the fight as progressives across this country
progressive,
stand up for the
Marxist.
kind of vision for a better country that Canadians have always carried, despite the tremendous pressures around the world to think smaller, to veer towards the hard right, and to be less ambitious for what we can be and do as a country when the world really needs Canada.
That's not an answer, though. Yes or no? Is there another leader that could beat him?
Absolutely.
Sur le leader?
Oui.
Non, mais
Est-ce que vous, est-ce que
Pierre-
vous pouvez
Pierre Poilievre.
élaborer en français, s'il vous plaît? Merci.
Pierre Poilievre a une vision profondément petite.
You know, guys, this is not Trudeau lying. This is not Trudeau lying. This is for some reason we've gone down on Twitter. I don't know why. This is not Trudeau lying. This is him actually. This is what he believes in his heart. And that's a shame for the majority of Canadians. That is a terrible shame that we have allowed this guy as our prime minister for over 9 years now. That's what he thinks. I guess it's not a lie if you believe it, but it's truly pathetic. And now we've got a lot of cleaning up to do because the Liberals will be toast in 2.5 months.
Trudeau, il y a 16 ans, en décembre 2008, Stephen Harper a prorogé le Parlement pour s'éviter un vote de confiance qu'il savait qu'il allait perdre parce que les 3 partis d'opposition allaient voter contre lui. Exactement comme la situation dans laquelle vous vous trouvez aujourd'hui. À l'époque, le chef libéral, Stéphane Dion, avait dit, puis je le cite ici, que c'était une entrave à la Constitution et un affront à la démocratie. Alors, j'aimerais savoir pourquoi ce qui était mauvais pour les conservateurs de Stephen Harper devrait être bon pour les libéraux de Justin Trudeau.
La gouverneure générale, en 2008, avait correctement conclu que la Chambre venait juste d'accorder leur confiance de façon formelle au gouvernement de M. Harper, malgré même une lettre signée qui était un document politique. La voix de la Chambre compte. Or, avant d'arrêter le travail à la Chambre pour les fêtes, on a gagné 3 votes de non-confiance, 3 votes de confiance. Et nous allons devoir retester la confiance de la Chambre dès le mois de mars pour passer les éléments budgétaires nécessaires pour faire fonctionner le gouvernement. In 2008, the Governor General correctly concluded that because the very last times in the previous weeks that the confidence of the House had been tested. It had passed that confidence test. Stephen Harper continued to have the confidence of the House, and it actually would bear out because as soon as they came back from the prorogation, Stephen Harper won a confidence vote once again. So a political document or political speeches doesn't carry the kind of weight that winning a confidence vote means. But this prorogation will take us only into March, and there will be confidence votes in March in the passing of supply that will allow Parliament to weigh in on confidence in a way that is entirely in keeping with all the principles of democracy and the workings of our strong institutions.
Mais avec respect, M. Trudeau, y a-t-il pas quelque chose un peu antidémocratique de suspendre la possibilité du Parlement d'exprimer?
So are the French given priority when it comes to questions? Why is the French media always at the beginning and then they have to translate back to English? That seems rather disproportionate considering there's over 40 million people in the country and only 7 or 8 million of them live in Quebec. The majority live in English. It should be English first, French second, if you're talking about that. Highly frustrating, this bilingual thing. I've never really talked about that. Maybe I will one night, but I mean, unbelievable. So this is nothing new. This is nothing new in terms of political leaders stepping down. I think the most recent example would have been in Manitoba, where Brian Pallister stepped down as premier, and that was very quick, and was replaced with an internal vote. Well, not internal, the Progressive Conservative Party of Manitoba voted with all of their membership between two candidates, and then that candidate who won, which was Heather Stephenson, became the premier until the end of the Conservative term a couple of years ago, or a year and a half ago. So she was an unelected premier, just like this next prime minister, whoever it is, will be for a period of probably a month and a half tops. So whoever is running for that job knows this, which means I'm thinking that there's going to be only two candidates, and Mark Carney won't. He knows he's going to be annihilated. Anybody who steps into that void knows they're going to be annihilated.
Moment complexe, et ces deux éléments vont représenter le reset nécessaire pour le Parlement.
En anglais, mais si vous pouvez dire pourquoi pas une élection, vous l'avez pas dit.
The parliamentary press gallery, and anyone who's been watching politics closely over the past months will know that Parliament has been entirely seized by obstruction.
All you needed to do was reveal
a total lack of productivity.
The documents
over the past few months
that you were ordered to reveal.
Right now, the longest-serving minority government in history, and it's time for a reset. It's time for the temperature to come down, for the people to have a fresh start in Parliament, to be able to navigate through these complex times, both domestically and internationally. And the reset that we have is actually two parts. One is the prorogation, but the other part is recognizing that removing me from the equation as the leader who will fight the next election for the Liberal Party should also decrease the level of polarization that we're seeing right now in the House and in Canadian politics, and allow people to actually focus on serving Canadians in this House. And
so they haven't been then, Justin. That's what you're saying. They haven't been serving Canadians.
Good morning, Prime Minister Stephanie Taylor with the National Post. Given, as you just said, there's going to be confidence votes in March, opposition parties have said they are prepared to bring down your government. What kind of chances do you think you are leaving to your successor, given that there will only be mere weeks for them to introduce themselves to Canadians before heading into an election, potentially?
I have a tremendous amount of confidence in both Canadians and in parliamentarians' interest in serving Canadians in the right way. they're
He knows they're going to be decimated. I can't even believe he can keep a straight face
we're in
here.
a minority government right now, and there hasn't been an active leadership in a minority government in more than 50 years in this country. And there is always going to be the challenge of having a leadership race while a parliament would face confidence votes in the course of delivering supply to the government. So this is something that we're going to navigate through, but I truly feel that removing the contention around my own continued leadership is an opportunity to bring the temperature down, have a government that will focus on the complex issues that are coming forward in the coming months, while the party gets to have a full national process that brings in people from right across the country and makes a determination about the best person to carry the progressive liberal standard into the next election.
Can you clarify whether ministers who would like to campaign for your job will have to step out of cabinet? And how can the Liberal government be in a position to protect Canadian businesses and Canadians from the threat of tariffs from incoming President Donald Trump when members of the government are going to be focused on who's going to be taking your job?
Good question.
The government will still, and the cabinet will still be very much focused on doing the job that Canadians elected us to do in 2021, which is fight for their interests, stand up for their well-being, and make sure that they are good and that Canadians are protected and strong. There will be a leadership process and the rules will unfold over the coming weeks. But I can assure you that the tools and the need to stand up for Canadians, to protect Canadians in their interests and continue to fight for the economy is something that everyone in this government will be singularly focused on. Je peux souligner que
So Trump knows that this is a lame duck government. He's known that since the beginning. If he thinks about Canada very often, which I doubt he does, but if his thoughts turn to Canada, he knows the situation that we're in up here. So the best thing that I can recommend to you guys right now is we make a plea to President Trump right now and say, Mr. President, this asshat here is derailing our country. He's been doing that for 9 years. We know you don't take him seriously as a leader, as a negotiator, as a person. Could you hold off on your tariffs? He's gone. Wow.
And there you have it, Justin Trudeau.
There you have it. So could you hold off on your tariffs, Mr. President, for a couple of months, maybe 3 months, until we can have an election and elect somebody who knows what they're doing, somebody who sees more eye to eye on the world with you than this idiot. And we might get his attention if we can find the right person, like Jordan Peterson, or even, who's a Canadian with a big name in America who's with us. Then maybe we can get a message to Trump and say, can you hold off on the tariffs for just a few months? We've got an election brewing soon. Because like I was saying, whoever takes this leadership role is going to be flayed. They're a clay pigeon. They're going to be flayed, I tell you, in the election. So who would want it? Do you think that Chrystia Freeland will be running for leader of the Liberal Party, or Mark Carney will be running for leader of the Liberal Party? Yeah, they'll get to be prime minister for a day, literally a day, when they win the election. And so they're going to have a leadership convention or whatever, maybe, like I said, an accelerated leadership And I guess that begins today. We're going to find out later on this afternoon which Liberals are throwing their hats in the ring and who the favorites are, probably by tomorrow or the end of this week. And it's going to boil down to two. Then they're going to have the process. I'm not sure how they're going to do it, how the Liberal Party does it. It's been a long time since they've done it. But once they come up with a leader, that leader will be sworn in as prime minister, I suppose, but there won't be any working parliament until March 24th. So really, they're prime minister in name only. And then March 24th, they come back. They have to do a speech from the throne. And the other good thing about this proroguement, well, I mean, I'm not sure there's anything good about it, but the good thing about it, the one good thing would be that all government bills get dropped, all of them. C-63, anything that hasn't yet become law, that's in the process of becoming law, is gone. Gone. Private members' bills, on the other hand, different story, like Bill C-293. That's the make meat illegal during a pandemic bill that was brought in by, what's his name? Oh, I forget his name now. Oh, look. It's the Impractical Jokers. They just popped up on my screen. Sorry about that. I'm not sure if you could hear that or not, but I did. So where was I? What's his name? The guy, Liberal MP, Nate Erskine Smith. So that's a private member's bill, 293, and that's going to keep going, but not for too much longer. Because like I say, March 24th, when the House returns, they will have a confidence vote on the speech from the throne. And at that point, if Jagmeet Singh has any testicles whatsoever, that government will fall, and then we'll get an election. Generally speaking, the election runs anywhere from, like, let's just have a look here, because it is morning, not my natural time. Let's see how long. So an election period can last from 37 to 51 days. I would imagine that this new Liberal leader will try and make that campaign last as long as possible to get their message out to Canadians. So 50 days, an election period, starting March 24th. So we're going to get an election second week of May. That's when we will be going to the polls. And we'll have a new prime minister that day, whatever day the election is. 50-day campaign, probably. Like I say, they're going to try and make it as long as they possibly can, so they can introduce their new leader to Canadians and try and make us like him or her. So that's it. Trudeau resigns as prime minister, effective not immediately, but effective as soon as the Liberals elect a new leader. We don't know anything about that process yet. I imagine that we're going to be finding out about it, like I say, for the rest of today, maybe tomorrow. We're going to start finding out who the candidates are, maybe later on today. Who knows? I mean, this has been a fast-moving train, you guys. This whole thing has been kind of in the back of all of our minds for quite some time. A lot of people are making reference to the World Economic Forum here. Kevin O'Leary, Jeff, that's a great idea. Maybe Kevin O'Leary can get the ear of Donald Trump and say, you know, Mr. President, I mean, we're kind of going through a hard time in Canada right now with this election. And once we get a guy in there, but please hold off on the tariffs until, who knows? I mean, maybe O'Leary can make that pitch successfully. It would be great. But what was I talking about? Yeah. So that's it. We're going to find out who all of the candidates are as we move forward. I don't think there's going to be time for any Liberal to hold off on deciding whether or not they're going to be running for this job, right? It's not like, well, we're going to be waiting around for Seamus O'Regan to make his decision. No, this is going to have to be very, very soon. This is going to be, like I say, a very short campaign. Very, very short campaign. But it's also a chance for the Liberals to raise money. Apparently, we're hearing Well, they have been raising money. They're not poor or anything going into an election versus the Conservatives. And the Conservatives are by far and away the number one raisers of money across the country. They would have been hampered by the fact that the Conservatives could outspend them probably 2-1. So this will be an opportunity for the Liberals to raise money as well for an election campaign, and the same for the NDP. They're going to take this time to run Jagmeet Singh all across the country and raise money. And, the other thing that people are asking me here in comments is, will Jagmeet Singh get his pension? Well, if Parliament is prorogued, he's supposed to be an MP until February 25th. That's his 6-year anniversary, and that means that he gets his pension. So just because Parliament is prorogued doesn't mean he's not an MP. So yes, Jagmeet will get his pension. And if that's the reason you think the NDP have been holding off on pulling the pin on these Liberals, then he will, in fact, be voting non-confidence on March 24th. I think it's more than that. I think that Singh has agreed with Trudeau at every step and wanted him to go even further. If you haven't watched the Pierre Poilievre, Jordan Peterson interview, I rewatched the last part of that the other day, and there's some interesting things that they discuss, including the relationship between Jagmeet Singh and Justin Trudeau. And, they're both young global leaders. Neither one of them, Peterson nor Poilievre, goes as far as to bring in the World Economic Forum. They do talk about the Marxist philosophy they both hold, Singh and Trudeau. But they don't equate it with the World Economic Forum. They don't equate it with stakeholder capitalism or any of the other agencies that you and I know are up to no good. So at least it's a start. When you get a conservative leader talking about the prime minister, the current prime minister of a country, being a Marxist, an extremist, that's a good thing. I don't recall any conservative leader ever coming out ever and saying that in the past. So I know there's a lot of people who say Poilievre is one of them, or he's not far right enough, or whatever it is. Ultimately, guys, this is what we've got. This is what we've got. It's going to be interesting to see the polls. You can bet that Nanos and Leger and all of the other polling agencies are going to be scrambling to get a poll out before the end of the week to see if this announcement makes any improvement at all for the Liberals. I mean, they've been sitting around. I think the lowest we had them in Angus Reid was at 16%, that poll that came out between Christmas and New Year's, or maybe just before Christmas. Either way, Nanos has come out with polls that show Liberals at 17, 18%, right around the same as the NDP, and the Conservatives up around 45, 46, even 47%. So we'll see if this makes a difference, if Liberal voters can now say, oh, thank God Trudeau's gone. Now I can go vote Liberal again. And there are going to be some people out there who think that, guys, whether you believe it or not, that is the truth. So they might come up a couple of points, which may make the NDP and Conservatives come down a couple of points. Either way, I believe it's still going to be ridiculous. So we're probably going to shake out with the Conservatives at 42%. Maybe the Liberals come up to 23%. Maybe. It's still a complete and total devastation for the Liberal Party of Canada. And in the election, I'm going to make an early prediction right now. There's going to be 343 seats because they're adding 5 new ones. I think the Conservatives, 200, and this is a conservative, not a Conservative Party prediction, but a conservative estimate. I believe the Conservatives get 218 seats out of the 343. That leaves 125. I think the Bloc is going to get 50. I think the NDP are going to get you about the same, 25. I'm just rounding off here. And then the Liberals get what's left over. So that's like, I don't know, 40 or so seats. A lot of people had them down at 6, single digits seat-wise. And we can always hope. But remember that if the Liberal seat count goes down, the NDP seat count probably goes up. And they're both Marxist parties. When you look at the polling, a lot of people don't look at it this way, but you see the Conservatives at 45%, let's say, and the PPC at 1 or 2 points. So let's put that together. For a Conservative vote of 47% in this country, and then you put the Liberals and the Bloc together, not the Bloc, the Liberals and the NDP and the Greens together, and you're talking about almost the same. And then the Bloc is the rest, and the Bloc doesn't count because they don't run as a left party or a right party on the spectrum. They run as a separatist party only in Quebec, so you can't include them, and they get the other 6 or 7% of the vote. So this means the zeitgeist of our country is heavily divided and almost exactly even. 47, 47, 47, 46 conservative-minded people. And when I talk about conservative-minded people, there's a lot of people who are progressive conservatives. They're not social conservatives. They're fiscal conservatives, but social liberals. Red Tories, as they're known. And those people obviously haven't thought through all of the policies of the left, at least not very much. And the only reason that they're voting conservative is to get rid of Trudeau or the Liberals in general. So we've got a lot of, I don't like to use this word, but I'll say it anyway, a lot of educating to do when it comes to other conservatives in this country, not as conservative as you may be or I might be. And that's, again, when you say I'm conservative, that's not anything to be ashamed of. And that's the first thing that the far left will do. They'll try to shame you for being a conservative. There's nothing wrong with being a conservative. It means to conserve. And in this case, we're talking about conserving our country and our way of life before all of these progressives can take it over and change it into what they envision. And I don't even think there really is a vision from them anyhow. Anyway, that's a whole other conversation to have. Justin Trudeau, in case you're just joining now, has resigned as Prime Minister of Canada and the leader of the Liberal Party of Canada. His resignation will take effect when the Liberals choose a new leader, and the House is prorogued until March 24th. More coming up on Shadow at Night live stream tonight at 8 o'clock Central. Thank you for tuning into this special broadcast. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys, and I will catch you tonight for more. Have a great day. Bye for now.